Welcome to the Digital Strategies for Small Business podcast with Adam Roseland and Jason O'Mara. Episode number 2, recorded April 30th of 2013. Hey everybody, it's Adam Roseland. I know we haven't put together any recent shows for you. We've been doing a lot of business locally, and obviously that takes over priority for us. We're a very customer-centric company, and so whenever we have a lot of projects on the table, then sometimes we don't work on some of the internal projects that we want to work on, such as this podcast. Also to note, we recently launched a new division of our business called Appetizing Websites. You can check it out on appetizingsites.com. Again, it's appetizingsites.com. It is a site dedicated towards local and small restaurants and bars and cafes, delis, stuff like that don't have websites already. It's an affordable plan, monthly plans for our customers. And by all means, if you know anybody that might be interested, we will love to build them a site. And we also are not afraid to give out any referral fees. So check it out. So today's going to be a solo show just by me. So hopefully I won't bore you too much. But what I would like to talk about is copywriting tips that can help yield immediate results for your website in the search engine. So copywriting tips that are good for SEO. Now, writing for the web in general requires a completely different approach when compared to writing for print, meaning writing books, writing magazine articles, or your advertising that you're going out to put into direct mail pieces or what have you. So what we did was put together some SEO copywriting tips to help you write better web copy and hopefully rank you better in the search engines. First, let's talk about why it's a little different. Web copy is really supposed to be short and directly to the point with fewer words. Ideas are supposed to be expressed in shorter paragraphs and shorter sentences, kind of like a billboard, if you will. The big difference is in the use of keywords, which are typically used as a central theme throughout the body of the copy. They're used in the page headlines, they're used in hyperlinks. Then the idea is to make sure that targeted keyword phrase is mixed into the marketing message so that search engines will notice it and rank you higher for that. The first thing that you have to really focus on is keywords. The main keyword phrase should be used about 3 times during the course of the article or during the post that you're writing. Once in the headlines, once in the first paragraph, and use it somewhere as anchor text that will be hyperlinked to another relevant page in your website somewhere in the body. You also want to use secondary keywords, which should be used 1 to 2 times, and not stuff your content with keywords that'll make your copy not seem readable or understandable for common use. Ultimately, your copy should be making sense and be relevant. One of these things that you really want to focus on is using keywords, those secondary keywords that are, again, relevant, but are traditionally used by not only you, but by the reader. So let's just say you're selling cars and you own a car dealership. Obviously, if your keyword is used cars, you don't want to just use the keyword used cars 35 times during the course of the article, even though it might be relevant. So a used car dealership or somebody trying to promote used cars would want to use keywords like pre-owned, automobile instead of car, hot rods, stuff like that. And hopefully you understand what I'm saying. You don't want to just keep using used cars over and over and over again, but you do want to sprinkle in secondary keywords that are relevant and, again, that other people will use. The second, I think, important copywriting tip is the use of immediate impression, meaning you've got to hit somebody within 3 seconds of the initial time of them being on your website to get that first impression, which is so critical. Internet users are active; they're all over the place. They're on their Facebook their page. They're using Twitter. They're being distracted by home. People at home, they're being distracted by people at work. So users will immediately go away from your site if they don't find what they're looking for within the first 3 seconds. So 3 seconds is kind of the magic number that you need to focus on. The next thing that I like to make sure that you have is a plan of action. It's always important to map out a sales process and write your message into the copy ahead of time. So have a goal, have a plan, make sure it's mapped out, and then make sure it's integrated throughout the copy. Don't just start writing an article and then kind of wing it. Make sure that you're going to have a plan of attack. Make sure, for instance, here I've written down 12 different copywriting tips that we're going to go through. I'm not just trying to pull them out one by one as we go along. I've got them written down, and so it might sound like I'm reading a little bit because I am. I'm reading through the plan that I wrote out to have on this podcast. So I wanted to map it out a little bit. It doesn't mean write the entire script, but it means that you need to make sure that you have kind of a blueprint for success. And that includes writing down your goals and writing down your plan before you actually take action. So all the salespeople, all the advertisers that listen to this will immediately understand the importance of this next tip. But you need to state the benefits. Products, services, they all have specific benefits, and they're often presented as features. And really, you have to understand that the difference between a feature and a benefit is pretty important. And you need to make sure that you're writing these benefits out for your readers, for your prospects. In some cases, benefits will do the selling of your product. You don't have to do anything else. You just need to make sure they're properly worded out. A great example, again, of a feature and versus a benefit is, for talking about used cars, is, a used car having a hybrid feature, meaning that the car will not use up as much gas. So that's a feature. Now, the benefit to the product, to the prospect or to the reader, is that the fact that it's a hybrid vehicle will allow you to keep more money in your pocket because you don't have to spend as much gas. It'll allow you to have more time to spend with your family because you don't have to go to the gas station as much. So hopefully you understand the difference between a feature and a benefit. So the next tip is maintain their attention. So this is a little bit different than 3 seconds of grab their attention. The next phase is maintain the attention, or get their attention, as I like to say, because it's really incredibly important that once somebody lands on your webpage, that they immediately see kind of where to go with the sales pitch, what your offer is going to be, where your buy it now button is, or where the phone number is. You need to direct them quickly. Now that you have their attention with your 3-second headline that grabbed their attention initially, tell them what you're going to tell them. And then you tell them what they need to understand, and then you tell them what you told them. And that's really kind of a map for sales pitches in general, is tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. So in this situation, you need to make sure that your pitch is there. It's very easy to identify, show what the offer is going to be, and then how do they act? What is the phone number? Or where's the phone number? What's the the buy it now button going to look like? Where's it going to be? All that important stuff. So I mentioned headlines, so now I want to dive a little bit deeper in how to be effective with your headline. A good quality headline grabs the reader's attention, obviously, but it gives the idea that there's something worth discovering on this page. If you don't have an effective, captivating headline, it's really going to fall apart. Some great headlines are 4 tips on how to save money, or 3 foolproof plan or ways to make sure that you never lose another customer a day. Numbers always work, giving somebody a list, if you will, but using some good sales pitch type keywords like act fast, buy now, foolproof. Those are always important headline keywords to make sure that you're using in your headline, and they are captivating and they will get people reading the next step. So now that you've got them with the headline, how much copy should you have? How much article text should you have? I believe that, and again, this is a new tip, you should have a moderate amount of text. You don't want to have a 3,000 word article that you're writing for people to try and digest. You want it to be quick and to the point. So it should have at least 300 words of text, but 400 to 500 words is usually that sweet spot. Search engines like that and readers like that, because it's enough to get the idea of what you're talking about, but at the same time, it is not a 4-hour investment to read what the article's all about. And again, search engines have enough information that they'll like it because 400 words is enough copy, but it's quick and to the point, and it can give you that tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them opportunity. So make sure you slice your content into a few bullet points or a few small paragraphs. I always like to do ordered lists so your readers can easily absorb it and get on to what they want to do next, which is not spend a ton of time with your website. So the next tip about that text is make sure it's easy to read. Making sure that not only the reader can understand and digest that information. Believe it or not, search engines like to see that the copywriting is written for like a third or fourth grade reader. They don't want to have complex words being in there. You don't want 15 syllable words in your copy. You want to make sure that it's easy to read, it's organized, it's presented with subheadlines, there's lists, there's images, there's different colors, there's italics, there's bold. Make sure that it's written properly and cleanly so that it's people are quick to understand exactly what the topic is about and how to move through. One thing I'd like to also make sure that you're doing is make sure you address the what's in it for me. Why am I here? How did I do it? Where do I go next? You want to give more emphasis on the benefits and answer potential questions of your visitors right in the copy. So if you know that typically there's a lot of frequently asked questions about your product or service, you need to address it immediately. Make sure it's in part of the sales copy, and make sure that it's going to be clear and answers the questions completely. So you don't want to just start to answer the question partially. You want to make sure there's a full answer to whatever that frequently asked question is and addressed immediately. The next thing that you need to do is support what you say. Web visitors, even though you're writing it for third grade or fourth grade level readers, web visitors are intelligent. They can sense very quickly if you're going to simply be just promoting something. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with affiliate marketing, but a lot of websites out there are just dedicated to promoting a product that somebody's never actually used. So you make sure that you're believable. Make sure that you support the claims that you're making. If it's a review of your product, make sure that that it's not just you that is reviewing the product. Use client reviews, testimonials, things like that, and always source your references. The next tip is about call to action. Never end your message without asking somebody to take a call to action. I'll be doing that at the end of the podcast, telling you to go to my website to make comments. Make sure that if you're going to have a product or service, tell them what it is, tell them how to use it, and then tell them how to purchase it. Tell them what that final step is. I know it seems like you shouldn't have to do that. People should be aware enough that a big buy it now button is there, that they should click it. But you need to tell people what to do. You want to act as if you're hypnotizing them, and you need to lead them down this path. And so you tell them what you told them, and you tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. The reason I keep reinforcing that is because it's important to understand. You need to prep people for what they're going to need to do. You need to tell them what they need to do, and then you need to tell them that you told them what they needed to do. And that's the critical piece. So if I want somebody to buy a product, I need to make sure that I tell them very clearly what the call to action is, how I want them to do it, whether it be somebody answering the ad or the posting via a phone call, an email, a click, live chat, visiting my store, directly stating, buy it now. It's just got to be a very clear call to action. And the final thing that I want to talk about today is starting with an impact and finishing with an impact. And the critical piece about this is so many people start off their articles, their posts with wonderful headlines, but it kind of just goes with a big burst from the start, and then the copy starts to slowly drain throughout the message. It just doesn't get any more exciting throughout the body of the copy of the article. And what any good book does is it keeps you interested throughout the book, but it starts off great and it finishes great. And so when you're writing an article or you're writing a post, you have to think like you're writing a book, because at the end of the day, you're trying to maintain that reader's attention. And again, before you push them to that call to action, or while you're pushing them to that call to action, you want to make sure it's impactful in one way, shape, or form. So to recap, what I wanted to make sure that you understand from this is we are writing website copy. We're not writing regular copy. That's the critical piece. So make sure that you focus on your keywords. Make sure that they're sprinkled throughout, and make sure that you're using secondary keywords. Make sure that you hit somebody with a great first impression in that first 3 seconds. The best way to do this is to make sure that you've laid out a plan of action. Make sure that you have your goals addressed up front. Make sure that you have your plan addressed so that you know exactly what the point of this article is, where people are supposed to go, what they're supposed to do, and so forth. Make sure that you state the benefits. Don't just create an article with just feature, 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 and feature. Make sure that you do feature and then benefits so that people understand why using your product or service is going to impact them. As far as the article itself, make sure you get their attention with good, clean information. Make sure that there's a good sales pitch in there. Make sure that the call to action is very clear. Make sure that your headline is impactful. Make sure that it's got a list or it's got meaningful words in it. Make sure that you don't have a ton of text in your article. Make sure that it's going to be a relatively short, meaning 400 to 500 word article, and that way you can have a lot of good, meaningful information in there, but it doesn't spend too much time of the reader. Make sure it's easy to read. Make sure the copy doesn't have big, huge words that aren't understandable by people that you're trying to target. Make sure that it's well organized. Make sure it's presented in subheadlines, lists, images, colors, and italices and stuff like that. Expect questions when people are reading this. So you have to understand when you're writing your article that you address questions ahead of time with it. What's in it for me? Why am I here? How do I do it? Where do I go next? How do I use the product? And things like that. And make sure that when you do write this article and you're creating any kind of statement that you support what you say with a reinforced claim. I love testimonials from customers. If you say you're the best in the Philadelphia area, make sure that you have some testimonials from your clients that are backing that up, that it's not just you saying that. And then make sure that you have a very clear call to action. What are the next steps? Where do people go? What are they supposed to do? And finally, make sure if you're going to start with make sure that you do start with a big impact, and make sure that you finish with a big impact in your writing. So that's going to wrap up today's session. I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope you learned some quick tips on how to write more effectively for your website. And hopefully you'll take some time, you'll visit my website, which is rojaweb.com. It's ROJAWEB.com. Read some of the articles that we've written. Check out the way we've set up our website, and feel free to comment on any of our blog posts. Again, this has been Adam Roseland with Roja Interactive, and I appreciate your time today. Thank you.